We return now to our top story, and it is the National Day of Action. First Nations protests are gripping cities from coast to coast. Right now, several hundred protesters are marching in Windsor, Ontario. They're blocking traffic at Canada's busiest border crossing. And in Manitoba, there are reports that a blockade has shut down regional rail traffic. For more on the potential economic repercussions of today's blockades and whether another set of meetings is planned between the federal government and First Nations leaders, Greg Rickford joins us now. He's the Parliamentary Secretary to the Aboriginal Affairs Minister, and he's with us live over the phone. Thank you so much for joining us today, Mr. Rickford.
Happy to do it.
So I want to get your thoughts. You were in that meeting last Friday between First Nations leaders and the Prime Minister. Protesters today are saying they want to see immediate action from the federal government. So give us a sense. What is happening on the federal level? You had that meeting on Friday. What kind of progress was made and what's happening going forward?
Well, significant progress was made, and I think it bears mentioning that subsequent to the meeting, the national chief, many regional chiefs, in fact, some of them that weren't there. Hello?
Yes, we've got you there.
Sorry, I'm hearing music. Sorry, and a number of chiefs that weren't there that have real leadership roles have spoke to the positive and substantive conversation that did go on. Subsequent to that as well, we've had, to be clear, the coordinators, the lead coordinators for Idle No More, and other leaders whose rhetoric had perhaps been a little bit ramped up, subsequently asked that, that people do what Canadians expect, and that is to have peaceful protests, but not to stay within the rule of law, and of course, as a matter of public safety, to not put anybody, including themselves, in harm's way. So that's the expectation, and I think that that's what we should expect.
Yeah, certainly that is what we should expect. But at this point, we're hearing from protesters. They're calling for everything from repealing Bill C-45 to honoring treaty rights. So can you tell us what are the top, say, 3 priorities right now that the federal government is working to address in terms of First Nations issues and certainly poverty on reserves?
Yeah, our top 3 priorities, as identified, they're shared priorities, obviously, were to focus on economic development, jobs, and growth in First Nations communities. I've talked about this, as you can imagine, quite frequently over the last week or two, but cite many examples of good things that are going and good things that are on the horizon. Ring of Fire in Northern Ontario. Obviously, we have the Northern Jobs and Prosperity Act in north of 60. This is a fully integrated piece of legislation in committee right now, or soon to be, that will focus on the ability of Aboriginal communities to participate not just in the economic opportunities, but in the environmental processes. Those, of course, are embedded in the Environmental Protection Act with respect to their rightful place in environmental negotiations on things like pipelines and other resource development projects. And we just want to focus on, I think, 3 key priorities: economic development, treaty matters, and certainly land claim processes. We've made a lot of progress in that particular area, but we've agreed to sit down with the national chief and then moving forward some kind of high-level working group, steering committee, what have you, to ensure that that stays on the right track and can be improved, if at all.
So as you point out, there is a lot of progress underway. Talks are in the works. More meetings will be happening. So do you think this kind of protest movement, this day of action we're seeing, even threats of economic disruptions? Right now, a rail line in Manitoba is blocked due to these protests. Do you think this undermines all of the work that's happening right now?
Well, I'm not going to speak to any specific act, but I find it unfortunate, and I will say in defense of all, good faith defense of all people who've been a part of this, whether they were chiefs that were in attendance at the meeting, those subsequent who didn't attend the meeting but have asked that, we have a peaceful, respectful dialogue, and certainly from the Idle No More coordinators, that peaceful protest or peaceful presence that's within the confines of the law is what they are. So, folks that are doing these other activities, I don't think are acting in the interests of what First Nations leaders have said, or coordinators with Idle No More, and certainly as a government, we expect that what Canadians should expect, and that is that protest or presence should remain within the confines of the rule of law, and of course, as a public safety issue, not to put themselves or any Canadian in harm's way.
All right, we'll have to leave.
The police officers have a tough job to do in these regards, but I think the right steps will be taken.
Yeah, certainly keeping things within the rule of law is key in all of this. We'll have to leave it there. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for this opportunity. Bye.
Bye. That is Parliamentary Secretary to the Minister of Aboriginal Affairs, Greg Rickford, joining us live over the phone. And still ahead.